It is a wet, rainy, cloudy, miserable day out, and I'm out in my garden. I couldn't be happier.
Are you ready?
I have my gardening gloves that I'm gonna put on once, forget about, and then get my hands all dirty, just like in the nails. You know what I should have done is done the soap first in my nails, but I'm already out here, so I'm not leaving. My trusty spade is gonna assist me along the way. It will help to get the weeds out, and I'll show you my garden. This right here is my baby hosta garden. Now, one thing I want to show you is, see all these black imprints right here? That was actually originally my garden from last year, and I had to pull out all my slates because these are all my hostas are starting to get bigger, to the point that over here, I have my coffee, over here they were getting strangled. That's why these ones are all pale. They didn't reach any sun yet. So once I pulled that back, then I exposed them to the sun, and now they have more room to grow. You can see I pulled these back in time to give them some space. But I have a whole varieties of hostas in here, and I'm going to be adding more and more as I go, because I have my little hosta farm off to the side as well. These are columbines. They do well in sun or shade. If you put them in shade, they just bloom a little bit less, but they will actually seed and spread themselves. They can become a little bit invasive, but not to the point that you can't control them. You literally just pull them out. But they're a great ground cover or just a filler, and really easy to take care of. They don't need much TLC at all. Drought tolerant. My garden over here is getting bigger and bigger, and also weedier and weedier. So I have to get all the weeds out. And over here I planted these, but I cannot remember what I planted. It's a Michigan native, I'm pretty sure. It helps the pollinators. I am just having drawing a blank on that one right now. But most of this is doing pretty good, other than just getting out some of the weeds. And this pulled itself out, so I'm just pulling all of this out. These are just a pain in the butt. I think for now on I'm gonna go with the metal ones because they're easier to adjust. They don't push themselves out, they're staked down, and actually extend this bed out more, because what's better than having more plants? These little guys right here, they're not too bad. They will come up everywhere, but they sit more on the surface, so they're pretty easy to pull up. But if you leave one little root, they will continue to grow. I don't mind them too much. My hosta could actually choke them out, but I'm at least getting them out from around so they don't initially choke it out until it starts dominating that little space right there. Anywhere else that has a ton of weeds or something like grasses, I will use my fork to help assist with that. You can see it's pulling up a collection of roots. I'm not worried about these. Are not the hosta roots. Those are much deeper. They don't come up to the surface like the grass roots and a lot of the weeds do. I'm sure you heard of a Shasta daisies. They are super easy. The only time you have to water them is when they get a little bit droopy, but they do well in shade or sun. If they're in shade, they just bloom a little less. But if you get them in the bright sun, whoo, tons of blooms. Cut them down once they're done blooming, and they will shoot up more in a few weeks. So here's a quick look at the before. And I'm going to be going through many steps in my garden, so definitely keep following. I'll tell you stories and give you gardening advice along the way. But this is the start, and let me just say, I hate lava rock. Do not put it in your garden. It's a lifesaver not to put in your garden. Please never use lava rock. I want to show you what this garden originally was. So you can see the size of the tree is absolutely huge. You can see oh, watch where I step. I should know better. Okay. See the giant roots that are shooting out. But in particular, if you look around the whole garden, you see these nice round field stones. Why they are round? Because I'm in Michigan and most of their field stones, dug up stones, are actually round. Not like in other states where you would have more like jagged rocks from your field stones that they dig up at the farms and throw off to the side, and then landscapers are like, ooh, great steel, people love to line these gardens with these. But I have to dig all these out because I'm expanding my whole garden out, and they're already getting buried, so it doesn't look nice anyways. How I can take advantage of these is I'm not going to put them individual like this, it's too small, but cluster them into groups. And before I put them in the groups, I'm just going to put a sheet of landscaping fabric down to help keep the weeds out and everything, and that'll help with that. But they're way too nice now. Is that a Petoskey? Oh, it's a Petoskey! Oh, see all that? This is all just oh my goodness, oh my god, what do you call them when the things get animal bones get squished and, oh, I can't think of the name. What is it called? Anyways, so Petoskey's are sought after. I can't believe I have a Petoskey stone sitting in my garden right now. Kind of excited about fossils. It's a fossil. There we go. That was a really tough word to figure out right there. But going around and taking all these out along with the lava rocks. Like I said, they are all buried in here. Pretty far down too, but they're good size as well. The trick is working smarter, not harder. So I grabbed my trusty pitchfork to actually get down and pull up all these, well, except for not stabbing them, pulling up these stones, which makes it a lot easier. I was trying to dig them out by hand in my little rake, which was time consuming. Now I'm just going through and getting a nice little pull and digging them out. This pitchfork was a trash pick. Someone was just throwing out a pitchfork. It was sitting outside of their trash bin. So I'm like, score. Gardeners will always take anything gardening related. Maybe we're a little bit hoarders when it comes to that, but I don't care because I love gardening. Actually, it looks nice to me just pulling them up and facing them again into the garden. Okay, that was really hard work, and whoa, I'm gonna lose my balance. But I dug all of those little field stones out. I'll show you in a second, but now I have another section over there I have to work on. It only gets better. The sun came out, I'm like, oh great, and then it gets too hot. But anyways, I started pulling back the leaves a little bit and dug out all of those field stones. I'll show you in a second where I piled them up. That's a plan for later, what I'm going to do in my garden. But now it's kind of hard to see, but you can see all my little hostas are starting to sprout. I have a whole bunch of varieties of them in here, even up top over here. Now let's go to this side. Oh goodness. Now I have this island that I have to dig out, take out all the lava stones, take out the field stones that aren't doing much, just sitting there. Oh my gosh, look at that ant farm. Give you a little close up there, dig all these out. This one won't be as bad. The other one was a lot bigger. And then digging out all these stones and mulching all of this. Keep following me. I'm going to give you progress as I go in my garden, show you before and after results. It's so much fun. Okay, if you really want a low maintenance, here you go. Welcome to the shade family. These are all hostas, except for this one. But this one is a beautiful color throughout the season. That rusty maroon red in it. Here's all the hostas. And they're just starting to become more and more variegated. Look at this one, just a subtle hint of 3 different greens in it. But if you have a lot of shade, have a lot of trees, hostas are your best friends. And they're drought tolerant. The only time you have to water them is when you see they're getting really weak in their stems and leaves. Don't buy any of these plants at any of your garden centers. These are the most invasive, horrible plant you could ever have in your garden. And they sell them like crazy at garden centers. I don't know why. They're absolutely horrible and they're invasive. They travel by root and by seed. And you can see they just keep going, going, going. Here, let's look. Oh, in my yard. Let's see. Oh, look, they traveled a little bit further in my yard. You know, well, let's come over here. They're all over here and in between any crevice they can find. You will hate them, hate them, hate them. Do not buy this plant. They look pretty for a split second. They get these beautiful flowers on them, colorful. They can come in different colors, a variety even in the shrub itself or just a single color. But I have been fighting it in my garden to the point that it'll grow under a pine tree. It grows in acidic soil too. I can't win. I made a little friend in the garden. Can you see him yet? Not yet. Let me zoom in. Can you see him? There he is. His name is Toady. I know I come up with very creative names. But wow, he's a big guy. I haven't seen a toad in a long time. So I must have really disturbed him. I'm sorry, Mr. or Mrs. But I'm trying to dig out these horribly invasive plants that were here a long time ago to the point that they're growing in between my sidewalk. And everywhere else. I absolutely hate these plants, but I'm going to try and not disturb Mr. or Mrs. Toad while I'm working. These are blanket flowers. They're just starting to bloom now. They will bloom all summer long. They're technically an annual, but you can turn them in perennial if you take care of them really well. Give them some good compost, keep the soil warm around them. But they will only be a perennial for about a year or two, but they'll shoot off babies and then you have more perennials. But they need a little bit more TLC or they are a beautiful annual. I am tilling up all the weeds in my garden before I put my landscaping blanket down. Here are some before photos to give you an idea of how big I'm actually making my garden. Maybe that's a mistake. Oh my goodness, it's a windy day, but these are coral bells. These are a part sun. You can have them in full sun, but they'll get a little burnt. But definitely give them some space to spread out. But these work really well in the shade as well. One thing I'm making sure to do is measure every time I roll out the fabric, and I'm measuring about 155 inches. This is a lily tuffle. They are really good for rock gardens. They are drought tolerant. They can do well in a little bit of shade, but they prefer mostly sun. Never place any of your tools on your fabric because you can lose them, like I almost lost my scissors. need a good ground cover. Creeping Jenny won't do you any wrong, but it's called Creeping Jenny, meaning it will creep maybe where you don't want it to. So make sure wherever you put it, you can control it pretty well. But let's just say it got into the wrong area, you can pull it out pretty easy. Don't worry. They're an easy plant to take care of. Just get them in a little bit of indirect sun at some points or more of a shady area, but direct sun could burn them if they get dehydrated. Well, the sun is almost down, and I just wanted to show you the progress I made in my garden. I was able to weed out all of the yuck, and now you can see just my hostas shooting through. The next goal is putting a blanket down, landscaping blankets, and then putting mulch on top of that. But, like I said before, have to remove this yucky lava stone. Do not put lava stone in your garden, and even don't do stone at all. Once soil starts piling up on that stone, you'll never keep weeds out. You'll never be able to, the soil will continue to build up. Mulch is the best solution in the long run. Plus, it creates a very healthy garden, and you can always move and change things as you wish. There are so many varieties of diathis, but you can't go wrong with any of them. Some of them are a little bit more hardy, and they keep their shape, like these little bit of grass-shaped types, or some that grow really long and lanky and have smaller but more flowers, and they do multiple blooms. Here's the other side. It's not perfect yet. I still have to do quite a bit of weeding in here, but I at least got a good chunk of it. Up there needs a lot of work, but down in here I did a little better. These grasses, I forget what they're called, but I'm looking forward to seeing them. There's some of them that actually have this nice white stripe in the middle. White or almost like a yellowish, but I'm not sure what those are either. And then coming around, I'll eventually rip that out. And then coming over here, I finally pulled out all the leaves from my hydrangea, and it's doing fantastic. And that's how big it was, so hopefully it'll double in size, if not triple this year. This is just a recap on some of the plants, but I did talk about all of them throughout my video.